Hopefully you all got a chance to see yesterday. But we're going to start off, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet all of you with the greeting words of peace. We say in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Hopefully you all got a chance to see or listen to yesterday, but not just listen, but take notes on it to see what you can apply. I'm going to say that again. Not just listen to it, not just I heard it, not even just I read it, but take notes and have a plan on how you are going to apply it. So today we have our sister Alexis, who is joining us for Wealth Wednesdays, who's going to talk about how to become the bank. So get your questions ready. I know y'all had a few, well, maybe a lot yesterday to share and, some questions to ask. And so today we're going to have that dialogue, and inshallah, she'll be able to guide us and give us some direction on how we can become that bank on that. What can we do to get on that banker team? Now, don't give us too much now, because, they got to come on and get on in BWF now. Y'all know that's where, that's where it's really going down really soon now. But, give us some direction here today. So let me bring Sister Alexis up on the screen. Okay, you already the co-host. And for those who are behind, we read chapters 1 through 3 yesterday. So we read chapters 1 through 3. So if you want to catch up with us, maybe even after this, either listen to the live or go back and you can read chapters 1 through 3. The ebook is inside of the Telegram, and I believe the ebook is inside of the school app as well, where we all are. All right, Sister Alexis, you ready?
I am. Happy Wealth Wednesday.
Happy Wealth Wednesday.
How are you all?
Y'all can unmute yourselves. I ain't speaking.
Right.
Doing well, man.
We will.
Doing well.
Very well.
Peachy King.
Amazing. So I'm gonna jump right in. Brother Ben, do you have like an order in which you wanted to go in, or like should we cover feedback first, or do you kind of want me to just go on the lesson and then cover feedback after?
Is the lesson gonna be included with like kind of similar principles?
Yeah, so basically what today is going to be about is really just recapping. I know that there may be some new individuals here, and then also we haven't really had any Wealth Wednesdays since before Ramadan. So before I introduce new information, I'd rather recap kind of what we went over and then some of the key takeaways from yesterday.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yes.
Do you need to share your screen today?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So, all right, you got it.
Amazing. So the first thing I wanted to cover, Brother Ben, is some of the key takeaways from yesterday, because I know that you all began reading chapter 1 through 3 of the Banker's Code, and the feedback was good. So even before I go into one of my key takeaways and also some of the things that stood out the most about some of the takeaways that some of the members shared, I'd love to know if anyone has any questions or feedback from yesterday before I get into it.
Sister Randisha, are you able to call them out today when they press the number 1? Cool. So if y'all have a question, go ahead and press the number 1. If you have any questions, okay? Or feedback, right? You said, right?
Yeah, feedback or questions from yesterday.
Feedback or questions.
There were some good questions that came yesterday, so I just want to make sure before we move forward, if there's any, they can be brought up. If not, we can jump right into it.
So do anybody have any questions or feedback that you would like to add on from yesterday's reading? Press the number 1 in the chat.
Going twice.
Javon.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
So some of the feedback was kind of a feedback and question at the same time. So one of the things that I noticed was it separated the banker from the investor. And I thought that was interesting because of Robert Kiyosaki's book. It breaks down the quadrant, which shows the investor being the ultimate goal, right? So I guess my question is that kind of still like misleading, or is it like such a huge secret that nobody even looks to be the banker?
Oh, that's a good question. So your question is like being a banker a well-kept secret, or what exactly? I feel like there's two parts to that question. So Robert Kiyosaki does have the quadrant where it has like the employed, employer, self-employed, and investor. I would say it is one of the best kept secrets that being the banker is the highest level. It's actually funny that you bring up that example, because when I first learned about this concept, I actually drew out the quadrant and then I put the banker where the investor was. And the reason for that is because when we're reading and we're going through the difference between the consumer, producer, investor, and banker, there's one thing that the investor does that the banker does not do. And that's go back to the bottom line, which actually kind of segues into something that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about the saver, the spender, and the wealth creator. Well, that's actual, or the spender, saver, and wealth creator. That's actually the consumer, the producer, and the banker. It's just like said differently, but it's the same thing. So investors go back down to the bottom line. Have you ever heard them say, don't invest money you don't have to lose, right? Because you can end up back at the bottom line. Bankers don't end up back at the bottom line. Something that Brother Ben brought up yesterday is he was talking about how within the banking system, you can ask how much money does it take to use money? But investors are still the ones that have to pay the bank back, and the bank provides the money. But if the investor does not pay the bank back, the bank still wins because they get the collateral, is what Brother Ben referenced yesterday with the collateralized lending. So I would say yes, because it is one of the biggest kept secrets. And two, because as an investor, you are technically creating cash flow, but we do have to consider the fact that you can go back down to the bottom line, which is what the banks don't do by collateralizing their investment or their loan, per se.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Can you give my question, if anybody, don't nobody else have anything? Because I know y'all got, I don't know what y'all doing. I know y'all got some questions now. But I'm gonna let y'all just sit there and okay. But my question is, can you give 2 ways? Let's say there's somebody in here that makes $60,000 a month.
Uh-huh.
Can you give us 2 examples, like thought changes, like paradigm changes of how they could easily, let's say they got some excess money. Let's say they make $100,000 a month. I'm sorry, a year. And they got excess cash, and they've been trained to, get a good job. Maybe they could drive trucks, or, they just got a pretty good living, but they're still in the consumer team. What could they do? No, let's just go at one thing. What's one thing that they could do to become the banker?
So a person's making $100,000 a year, and with their new paradigm shift, what can they do to
switch
money?
Teams? Basically, how can they switch teams? So they're only the consumer, and they're like, man, how could I get on the banker's team?
Oh, that's a great one. So I want to share that Brother, is his name Remis or
Brother
am I
Remus?
pronouncing?
Remus,
thank you. Brother Remus. There was something that he said yesterday that really stood out to me to answer this question. He was saying that, there are rules to being a consumer, there are rules to being a producer, there are rules to being a banker, right? I think that even before we know exactly what vehicle to invest in, if we're thinking as a banker, I would first identify which category I'm in as a customer, right? Because the banks and the financial institutions need my money, and figure out which one of them are qualified for me to lend my money to. Because one of the sisters also asked yesterday, well, how do we know, what bank, or how do we know if it's legal, or how do we know the prerequisites of even loaning out our money? Well, because we know that the key fundamentals of bankers, when we're thinking like a banker, is to make their money make more money. Well, the truth is we're already bankers. Like if your money is in a bank or 401k or any financial institution, you're already loaning them your money. Any financial institution that has your money, that's protecting it or reserving it for you, you're loaning them your money. So I would definitely say what's one thing they can do is first assess and identify these financial carriers. I'm the bank here because you're my customer. You want my business. You are going to give me different as incentives for me to loan you my money. So which one of the financial carriers give you the best rates of return, things of that nature for the money that you're loaning them? So I would start there even before going into like asset classes. I would look at the asset classes we're already using as a bank because we're already bankers, if that makes sense.
Wow. And I wasn't expecting that, y'all. Dang, we already lending them the money and they using it. And watch this. We get a percentage now, but it's a week 0.01 or 0.0 whatever. So we just need to change it. But wow, we're already if we're not doing what the investor is doing with the money in these areas, life insurance or, these things of that nature, we're technically already lending our money out. Oh, that's a good question. And that brings up something because yesterday, man, that's so funny. Yesterday we brought up the fact that, hey, and some people, their interpretation is, oh, we're not supposed to get any interest. Well, whether if you like it or not, if you got your money in the bank, we are getting interest. Now it may be super, super low. But for those who say, well, we shouldn't be getting any, well, you technically are if you got it sitting in the bank.
Right. Exactly.
Dang, I didn't think about that.
And here's another twist to it. Another twist to it would be that when you have a bank, right? Let's say you have a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or something of that nature, you are a consumer, right? What do they give you for being a consumer? They give you a debit card, like DEBIT. If you take off the I, what does that spell? Debt, because you are a customer for their debt system, right? But when you go to a credit union, now you're a member. I'm no longer a customer. There's now a board. And I know that the board is going to be maneuvering our reserves. Something that you mentioned yesterday about the Islamic banking, right? They have a board normally when you have credit unions or things of that nature. There's a board who say, okay, let's make sure that, Brother Ben, let's make sure that all of our members at the money in their reserves is being maximized. Whereas a bank, you're just a customer. They're saying, hey, let's make sure that all these customers are happy, uneducated, so that we can make what we need to make, because they're not in the business of safety. They're in the business of money. They're in the business of making money on your money. So when they say, oh, save 3 months, save 6 months, etc., and you're putting it in their bank, Brother Ben brought this up yesterday. There's fractional reserve systems, meaning that they can loan out your dollar 9 times. So your 3 to 6 months of savings that you're saving for a rainy day, right? They're making 500% on that a year. And they're paying you, like Brother Ben said, 0.001% on your money per year. Does that make sense? Like already where we can start right where we are right now. We can start right where we are right now. Where do you currently have, like I say, the ABCs of legacy? Number 1 is assessing. Assess where you are right now. We don't have to take this huge quantum leap jump to wealth. It doesn't work that way. But we have to affirm and know right now, to become a thing, you have to consciously align with the thing. So to become the bank, I have to consciously align with the mindset of bankers, the positive mindsets of bankers per se. And I want to know, like Brother Remus said, if my dollars are soldiers, where are they marching? And are they marching for my good and my bottom line, or are they marching for another family's bottom line? Because let's keep in mind, these banks are owned by families. The Federal Reserve is only 12 private families. So I just wanted to add that little food for thought in there as well.
Yes, ma'am. We cooking. We cooking already, y'all. There's somebody else. Kevin Fernandez. You have something to ask?
Yes, sir. How you doing this morning, everybody?
Good.
So the question is, bankers make money off other people's money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, how do we make money off of others? How do we become the banker, basically, if bankers are making money off of other people's money?
So how do we become the bank? Sign up for BWF and we're going to give you that on the other side, because that's really the T. Like, the banks are making money off of more than just our money, but mostly it would be to align with the consciousness of the bankers and start identifying what vehicles can give you the same mechanics that the banks are looking for their money. Because they're just a standard, right? We actually kind of went over that a couple of weeks ago on the power call, where we went over the wealth standard. We identified being a spender, saver, wealth creator. We all want to be wealth creators. So we said, what is the standard for the wealth creator? What are they looking for? What are the mechanics that they need that they need to meet for their money to make more money? So we would definitely cover that in more depth. Once we WF. Brother Ben said, don't give too much, because I'll be ready to just, you know what I'm saying, drop it on you. So,
Somebody, I think, no, Sister Ina said she's driving. What did she say? I'm driving. Is it better to start? You said I'm driving and then got the texting. I'm telling. But anyways, you said, is it better to start a bank or become a private lender? And what is the difference? Good question.
yes, so I would do both. I would become a bank and become a private lender. Just a teaser, Brother Ben referenced life insurance. So one of the, and this is a mic drop, right? The reason why there was this fad going on where they're saying become the bank, be your own bank, is because cash value life insurance and leveraging it as an asset class is one of the only vehicles that we have as retailers where we can become the bank. That is the only vehicle where we can duplicate our purchasing power to do private money lending. So even before we get into private money lending, before we become a bank for others, we want to create our own family bank. And with that, I also have a short clip that I want to share with you all after we get through the questions. But we have to become our own family bank first and kind of understand how that works, even loaning to your own family, loaning to yourself, loaning to your future self. And then you can begin private money lending by leveraging assets like life insurance to make sure you keep your collateral. That's something Brother Ben talked about as well. Like, if we don't have any collateral, then we're not really banking. And so we want to make sure, even before we're loaning to others who did not have the purchasing power initially, that we've collateralized our purchasing power before we get into private money lending. So I hope that answers your question.
Brother Daniel, 6'6".
Yes, sir. Thank you, great sister. My question, because when you mentioned credit union, something came to my mind. I used to have a credit union account, but I let it close. Could you explain some of the pros and cons between credit union and bank, and which one, without, I know you're not giving legal advice, but is it more advantageous to be with a credit union because we all got a bank anyway, or a bank, or is it based on specifics of the person?
That's a great question. I would definitely say really review the information from chapter 1 through 3 and ask yourself, do I want to be a consumer or do I want to be a banker? Because there's levels to it, right? Like, of course, like Brother Ben said as well, we're all consumers. Like, we're all going to consume. And even if you have 3 months or 6 months of your income, yes, we want to use a public financial institution like a bank, because a credit union is still a bank. But the question you want to ask yourself is, do I want to be a consumer and a debtor making 1% and that's it? Like, what are the benefits of me being a customer of this bank? Versus, do I want to be a member of a banking system where they probably have a little bit more care about what happens to the reserves because everyone's a member, meaning the bank is upheld by all of the members and how it's orchestrated, if that makes sense. So do I want to be a consumer and a debtor and get a debit card? Or do I want, like, let's just say Bank of America. When you sign up, they're going to give you a debit card and say, here's your debit card. Put your money in this bank so that we can loan it out and you can use what you have digitally available. Whereas a credit union, you sign up, they immediately are saying, okay, here's your debit card, but once you save 6 months, we'll give you a personal line of credit because we see that your deposits are consistent. We see that you are a wise steward, so we want to give you a line of credit in the next 6 months to a year. Where then now you can start becoming a producer or investor. So those would be the things that I ask is, do I want to be a consumer, or am I climbing up the ladder to a producer, to a banker? Because you said, is it dependent on everyone? Maybe not everyone wants to be a banker. Maybe some individuals like being consumers, and that's totally up to them. But if we want to measure it just from a level of prudence and principle, I would just ask those questions of, what are the benefits of me being a consumer? What are the benefits of me being a member?
Mm-hmm. Sister Randisha?
Yes, sir. So mine wasn't just like so much a question, but it was you know, after the chapter summary of 1, investors play the bankers' rules, and the bankers play by their own rules, and the investors' rules are stacked to the bankers' advantage. Can you explain that just a little bit more?
Oh, yes. That's actually one of my favorite quotes in the book. So it says that the rules for the banker and the rules for the investor are 2 different sets of rules. So they're playing 2 different games with 2 different sets of rules. But it says, if the banker wrote both sets of rules, who do the rules favor? So what that means is that it's almost just like a parent and a child, right? You know how they say, do as you see, not as, like, children will do as they see, not as you say. So it's almost like, if I'm going to give you the rules, child of mine, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. And I have my set of rules. We're playing 2 different games because you're the child and I'm the adult, right? But if the rules are wrote both by the parent, who do the rules favor? Of course they favor the parent, right? Because it's for their benefit that works. So the bankers are writing the rules for the investors because the bankers are giving them their money. So an example will be a person who buys, there was a sister who was on the call yesterday, and she was saying that she purchased a 4-unit apartment, right? So the banks wrote the rules for how the investor will borrow the money for real estate. And the collateral that they attach to it is the actual property, right? Will we agree that that is the first step of banking when it comes? You just type a 1 in the chat, as Brother Ben would say, if you all understand just that simple concept, that as a bank, they've written the rules for the investors. So they say, investor, you're going to sign this document that says, we're going to give you this loan. And if you don't pay this loan back, we're going to take the collateral. So the investor signs and says, okay, my rules are, I'm going to pay this loan back, and if I don't, he's going to take my collateral. The bank's rules are, you're going to pay this loan back, and if you don't, I'm going to take the collateral. So there's only one person who's going to be losing. I don't want to say either way, but they're still working for the banker. So the rules favor the banker because the investor has to produce or sell the home or sell the property in order to pay the bank back. The bank, on the other hand, doesn't have to go out and deal with time, tenants, and toilets. They just gave the person who's enthusiastic about it the opportunity to do so. And if they don't fulfill the loan, they also get the property as well. Does that make sense? Yes.
All right. And who was after you, Sister Randisha? Oh, Brother Javar.
Yeah, my question was just, could you kind of explain a little bit more about what exactly collateral is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So collateral is pretty much a valuable asset that's attached to a loan. So loans are really just promissory notes, and promissory notes essentially just say, we promise. Brother Ben referenced something yesterday about credit, and he was saying that he looks at credit like credibility, or character is what he said specifically. He looks like credit like character, but the word credit is actually just the base word of credibility, which credibility is just them knowing that you are a credible borrower. So the promissory note that they give to you says, hey, yes, you may be a credible borrower because you have this score that shows you're a credible borrower, but we need to add a valuable asset to this, just in the case that you don't pay us back. The item or the piece of asset or asset that they attach to that promissory note is collateral. Another example would be when you go purchase a car, they give you an auto loan. They say, okay, yes, we'll give you this amount down, you pay on the auto loan. Well, the collateral that's attached to the loan is just itself. It has its promissory note. but the collateral or asset attached to the auto loan is the car. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
All right. And I think that is all of the ones who pressed the number 1 to actually speak. So you can go into your presentation.
Amazing. So those are pretty much some of the key things. Brother Ben, I enjoyed that you went over the book of Deuteronomy, also the video that you shared, Brother Minister Lewis, or excuse me, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as well, regarding how we are supposed to living. Because you also reference the importance of looking at the operations of the white man, but you can discard the things that don't serve us, right? So with that being said, I actually had this little clip that I wanted to share really quickly that just kind of covered, it actually covered, where is it? Here it is, here. Pull it up. Make sure it doesn't play. So it actually covered exactly also how credit unions are built as well. I don't know if anyone knows how credit unions are built. I won't get into that now, but it covers a little bit of that structure that we should have collectively as well. Brother Ben, let me know if you can actually see my screen. Showing now. It's actually an Instagram post, so. All right. I don't know if it's gonna play. Let's see if you can hear it.
And you pay dividends back to everybody in the community.
Okay. Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
We need to create our own bank. First, you set up a community trust structure, and then you appoint everybody as a managing director of a trust. You set up a trust account for everybody. Everybody pools all this together. You buy gold and silver with it. You invest it, and you pay dividends back to everybody in the community. That's how we could run an economic system and completely bypass the federal government and the international bankers. Every community could do that. Every church could do that. Every organization could do that. Every family could do that. And watch the wealth start shifting back into your hands again instead of into the hands of those who really don't care about the wealth. The New World Order has no concern for your money, really. They just want power and control.
The importance of us being our own bank. Extremely, extremely important. So,
Okay, now I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, oh man, please
I
do
wanted
the
to play
answer.
that because you brought up the bank, you brought up that banking system of Islam yesterday, of the nation.
Yeah, but you wasn't on this call, right? A couple, maybe last week,
Uh-huh.
we listened to the minister, right? And he was speaking about pooling our resources. You know, the economic blueprint of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at that time was 5 cents a day, $5 a week, I believe. And, you know, 40 million black people come together, you put it up, and then you put it in a national treasure. Now we're able to create jobs and da-da-da-da-da. The minister talked about $10 a week, I believe is what he said, or $10 a month, and then we kind of pool those resources, and then we can go do things with it, and we all benefit. So I said, man, I sure would like for us to learn how to do something like that as a small group. You know what I mean? Like, as far as I know, the ultimate goal is to get millions of us to be able to pool our money together and be able to do something. But I said I would like for us to stop just saying that's a great idea, and we know how long that will actually take and how much work spiritually that would actually take to get black people to trust each other enough to do so. So I was like, man, what if we did it with 40? Instead of 40 million, let's start with 40. Let's start with 400. Let's start with 4,000 to show an example that it could be done. Now, when I just listened to what that guy just said about how we can set up, the trust and have people of the community on the trust and people get dividends, and he said you can do it with your church. You can do it with your organization. So my question is, would that be something we could set up when we start the Building Wealthy Families program, and have members who are actual members be able to participate in something structured in that manner And the last question, do you know how to run, set something up, like to get that? Because I was saying, man, we should do it, but I don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? I can, gather the people, but I don't know how to run it. So would that be something you would know how to do?
So the answer is yes and yes. Yes, that is something we can do. I'll share with you on another call a project that I've worked on similar to that. And then I also want to say that that's how credit unions are born. Yeah.
Uh-oh, y'all. We done found her.
That's are born, right? And when they pull the resources together, they put them in insurance that's owned by the trust, but the trust is managed by the board of trustees. These are all directors. Nothing moves without all 440 or 400 peoples. The board of directors, that's why credit unions have board of directors, because they have to all agree, hey, these are our members. That's why they give them so many dividends and so many benefits, because it's pooled resources. In a credit union, it's backed by insurance. Then they essentially loan out from that, pooled resource, and that's how they create loans for it. So just like with Navy Federal, everybody raves about Navy Federal. That's how the credit union was born. So why are they so anxious to always loan out to their members and give them personal lines of credit and business lines of credit? Because all the members' resources pooled together is what creates that credit union.
Wow.
And because they're members able to say, yeah, we'll give you a personal line of credit for this low interest rate. Yes, we'll give you, and you have to have a members code for somebody. Even you can't just go to Navy Federal and sign up. You have to have an access code. Someone from Navy Federal had to give you an access code to get in for that reason. So they back it with insurance, and then they have the board of trustees that make sure, hey, we're focusing on group economics. So this is what we can do collectively to stimulate our community or our economy. Yes. Yes. So that's exciting. It's very exciting. So that's amazing. What I did was I put this together, right? Just to kind of go over some of the key takeaways that I also had, and just some of the things that we want to think about as a whole. I know that most of you already know who I am, but in the case that you don't, I'm Alexis. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I am a licensed insurance broker, wealth strategist, and financial planning. Into financial planning, truly my mission is really just to encourage individuals and families to build their own source of financing. Brother Ben said yesterday, instead of us always having to work for money or save up our money, we should ask ourselves, how much money does it cost to make my money make more money? And we can't really do that until we're already thinking from a banker and thinking of creating our own sources of finance. So we do that by shifting the mindset from that of an average mind to a wealthy one, or from a borrower mindset to a lender's mindset. So that way we can leverage the power of banking principles. I don't want to focus on products. I don't want to focus on vehicles as much. I really want to focus on principles. So that way you're really able to focus on the things that are timeless and not just things that are vanity, if that makes sense. Brother Ben, do you mind if I share this about, the vision when it comes to BWF? Because I actually kind of came up with some, me and my definitions. So I did come up with a couple of definitions off of Investopedia to really get clear and create more clarity around what we're doing, if you don't mind me sharing.
Please do.
Yes. So as some of you know, we are launching BWF, which is an acronym for Building Wealthy Families. And so I wanted to cover essentially my portion of what I'm really focused on when it comes to BWF. So B is for building. On our very first call, Brother Ben, I'm not sure if you recall, but we talked about the power of building, just building financial power, right? And we went over the definition of building. And so when it comes to building wealth, the word building actually refers to the process of accumulating assets, investments, and financial resources over time with the goal of increasing our net worth, right? With the goal of increasing how much we leave our family when we leave, or how much our family is. When we say net worth, I want to be clear on something too. Net worth is not when we can Google what is the net worth of, your last name, your legacy. Net worth is actually, when we're thinking like a banker, how much purchasing power do we have access to as a family? Just saying. So this process involves strategic planning, disciplined saving, prudent investing, and sometimes entrepreneurship or other income generating activities that will lead to financial independence, because we do have to build wealth like all other things. We can't just hop off the porch and jump into it. It is a strategic process. We're not behind, but the information that we now have access to in the 21st century, our grandparents and most of our parents did not have access to. So it's extremely imperative that while we have access to this high level information, that we also have systems of implementation and definition so that we can have transformation, because we can't really build on something that we don't understand or understand the meaning of. The W is for wealthy. So building wealth is really about financial independence. And I really wanted to emphasize that point, because wealth is not the byproduct of what we have seen, right? One of the brothers on the call yesterday, he said something that stood out the most to him was in the book, it says, who taught you about wealth? So I want all of you, can you drop a 1 in the chat if you were taught about wealth as a child, and then a 2 in the chat if you weren't? I'm just trying to see something, because maybe I could, get my notebook out. Okay. It looks like we were all in the same boat. Okay, so we all went through the American school system. Got it. Okay. Because the K through 12 system does not teach us about building wealth. It's not something that they teach us. Brother Nuri Muhammad says that there's 3 sciences that they do not teach us: the science of warfare, the science of finance, and the science of mating. So that's even more so why it's imperative, again, for us to focus on definitions, because wealth is not the byproduct. It's not a house. It's not a car. It's not a chain. It's not that. Building wealth is truly about financial independence, and financial independence really just means that we have assets that are accumulating and growing in ways that generate our income, that grow over time and provide a sustainable source of funds to cover our living expenses, achieve financial goals, and weather unexpected events. That's just financial independence, is that one medical emergency wouldn't take us out, right? One car problem wouldn't take us out. So it's extremely important that we understand that wealth is more so about financial independence than it is about the byproduct of what something looks like. And then lastly, families, right? So in the context of group economics, the definition of family, right? I know that we also greet each other as family. That extends beyond biological or legal relationships. Okay, it really includes a collective of individuals who share common goals, values, and resources to collaborate and achieve economic empowerment and advancement. Extremely important. And then lastly, this concept emphasizes the importance of the solidarity and mutual support within a community or network, i.e. a board of trustees, where members pool their resources, they pool their talents, they pool their expertise to create opportunities for financial growth and stability within our community. So we have that. I don't know why that's still there. So basically, these are just some of the key takeaways that I focused on that I wanted you all to take away as well. I know that you all had them from yesterday, or if you didn't watch the video, it was really good. Brother Van, your key takeaways were good as well. I seen them light bulbs going off, Brother Van. I was like, yes. Okay. So we want to really focus on, please watch that video if you haven't, but these are some highlights, right? These are some highlights of things that we can focus on. I want to begin with this quote because I really believe in setting the intention on information before we consume it. And I just want to say that it is in the moment of our decisions. Okay. So it is in our moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. That means that moment by moment, the decisions that we're making are shaping if we're going to be a consumer, if we're going to be an investor, or if we're going to be a banker. But I just want to be very clear. They say that what you don't know won't hurt you. Ignorance is bliss. What we do know is hurting us very badly, right? Because if there's a game that's being played, this is a question that we asked on one of our calls. We said, or I asked the question, if there was a game being played and you don't know the rules to the game, The question is, can you win at the game? And simultaneously, everyone says no. Some people say a 0. Brother Ben said a 0.01% chance, which technically is true, actually. But most likely, no, we cannot win at the game, right? So I want us to know that from the day we were born, from about a couple weeks after, when they gave us our social security number, we became a banker. So whether we want to play the game or not, you're already playing it because you live in America. My goal is to instill a transformation in thinking in you so that you can play on the right side of the game. I mean, if you want to sit on the sidelines, that's cool too. But just know that if you're not playing the game, your soldiers are playing the game, and we don't want them to lose. So chapter number 1, the first key is really about becoming the bank, right? Becoming a banker. I know that we've heard that on Instagram. We've heard that on YouTube. We've heard that on, different insurance people's pages and all of that. What does that even mean? Like, what does it even mean to become the banker? The first thing that it means is, again, as I referenced earlier today, to become a thing, we must align our consciousness with the thing. So we have to first learn the mindset, right? What is a mindset? Well, it's a set of rules that the mind uses to make decisions. That's really just a mindset. So we want to create the mindset of becoming a banker. We can't become the bank. We cannot become a banker if we're not thinking like one. We cannot become a servant if we're not thinking like one. We cannot become one with Allah if we're not thinking from that space. So we have to become that thing through consciousness first. So in this case, when we're just referencing becoming a banker, we want to have emphasis on shifting our mindset. I like to say shifting out of an average mind to a wealthy one. But in this case, we're shifting from a borrower's mindset or a consumer's mindset to a lender mindset, right? We're already lending our money, whether we're contributing to a 401k, if we're contributing to an IRA. The moment that we put our money into a bank account, we've already lost control of it. You've just loaned it to the bank. Like, the employer doesn't even give you the money, actually. It direct deposits it to you after Uncle Sam gets his portion. And then now the bank can immediately put their money-making tactics in order and you have your debit card. So we want to shift that, right? We want to shift us from being a borrower to a lender. And then we also want to really understand the importance of how banks operate and how individuals can apply similar strategies to grow their wealth as a family, right? Even before we're thinking about wealth on a grand scale, let's start within our household. Let's start teaching our children how to become bankers. Let's teach them the difference between instant gratification and delayed gratification, because instant gratification is what keeps us in debt. Delayed gratification is what builds up our credibility so that we have more access to more purchasing power, which begins to create wealth. So having those conversations, etc. And then lastly, introducing the idea of leveraging other people's money and other people's time to accelerate our wealth accumulation. Now, there's something that I wanted to reference. Brother Ben asked me to look up a couple of definitions. Brother Ben, correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Is it riba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I basically did go ahead and look into that, right? And I want to first start by saying that Brother Remus started off by saying, yeah, I got this $700 credit card with 30% interest, right? Because that bank wants to leverage his time. They're willing to leverage their money for him to leverage his time. And although the definition, because I looked up the definition of riba on Investopedia, and it basically says that it's an Arabic word commonly used to reference to unequal exchanges or charges and fees for borrowing. And so the reason why I wanted to reference that right here is because this can be taken out of context if not put into the context. This is not us saying, well, we want to use other people and we want to use other people's money and time for our own wealth. No. We are leveraging other people's money and other people's time. That means that it's a positive arbitrage, right? Brother Remus said, well, I don't mind paying the 30% interest, or I don't mind paying a higher percent of interest if I know where I can multiply my money. So in that case, when we're introducing the idea of leveraging other people's time and other people's money with respect to riba, right, and the definition of that, I just wanted to be kind of add a preface that when we're leveraging other people's money and other people's time, it is only for the mutual benefits. Only for the mutual benefit of all that is involved. And that's the difference between capitalistic living and kingdom living. Just saying. So I just wanted to add that preface there with the definition so that I did not address that. The second key, actually, I'm going to pause right here before I move any further and just make sure that there's no questions, thoughts, observations, or feedback, if that's okay.
Press the number
If
three.
not,
Press the number 3 if anybody have any feedback or questions before she moves forward. Zoom user, I'm not sure what your name is. If you can change your name, we don't know your name.
in the meanwhile,
Oh, when you went out, Sister Alexis.
hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
Okay. I was going to say, in the meanwhile, I didn't mind answering Sister Gina's question.
Okay.
But I can. Okay. She asked, what is arbitrage, which is a great question. So I'm going to give you an example instead of a definition, because the definition is a little like economic and, complex. But I'll give you an example. An arbitrage would be like what Brother Ben expressed yesterday about if I borrow money at 10%, and I take the money that I borrowed for 10% and I go put it in an asset class that earns 20%, that is arbitrage. It's positive arbitrage. I'm using one lump sum of money to go produce another lump sum of money to bridge the spread. The spread just meaning how much it costs to borrow the money. I know some of you reference Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about good debt, bad debt. To sum up the seminar in a sentence, bad debt is when you're not assessing how you're going to gap or fill up the spread. How am I going to make money on the money? Whereas good debt is, I'm going to use positive arbitrage. I know that this money costs me 10% to borrow, so I'm going to make sure that the income producing investments that I put this money in, I can arbitrage it and earn 20%. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so Zoom humor is Brother Remus. Brother Remus?
Yes, sir. Beloved. Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you, sis. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to you, sis.
Yes, Royal Rise.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for pointing that out about Reba. I thought about use versus abuse in the verbiage that came to mind. And I thank you for really honing in on that, because I think a lot of us do have that stigma of credit is all bad. It's just, and then even in interest is all bad. And so in this kind of interest rates and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I just thank you for that. That overrode what I was thinking prior to that. Because that was just very powerful. But I was going to ask another question, but no, thank you for sharing all of this. And so that was really my comment.
Got it. Yes, sir. So if Sister Gina.
You can skip me. My question was answered. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't see those two press the number 3 in this portion, Sister Randisha. That's why I'm skipping them.
He did. Look at the bottom. Brother JVR is right there, and then Brother Daniel was up above him.
Brother Ben, if I can, I'm sorry, bro. I did remember what I was going to ask, and it came back to me. If I can, just real briefly.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, the becoming the banker, is that individually we're going to speak about that, as well as collectively we talked about the credit union. Maybe because all of us, almost every person alive, so to speak, becoming their own banker, versus in addition to the idea of collectively credit union becoming a banker. So just curious about that.
So your question is, will we talk about that individually or collectively and collectively?
I was wondering if that's what you were originally referring to, like becoming your own banker. Like you said, that's the topic in social media land today, 2024, is become your own banker, insurance, and all these kind of things like that. So, and then I think the new idea seems to be this idea possibly inside our group here or wherever, creating our own credit union. And obviously that's kind of like a banker, which, in the idea of a credit union and bank, the idea that you have a collective pool of money that you can now lend out to your members and stuff. So I wasn't sure if you were going to hone in on one or the other or both.
So that's a great question. Individually, that is essentially one of the benefits that you all have for being a part of the Power Call or being a part of Brother Ben X's community. Is I'm pretty much here to teach you the mechanics behind the memes, right? So the mechanics behind that meme for you to become a bank, I always say, make sure your family is a bank before you create a family bank, right? Before you create a collective pool. So individually, I will speak with y'all. That's essentially the basis and mechanics of what we teach and kind of how we orchestrate all of our things when it comes to financial planning, et cetera. So individually, that comes through the full comprehensive financial planning, the complementary ones that you all have through being with Brother Ben's community. And then collectively as a whole, we will discuss that further in the community with BWF, kind of as we weed through those of them who are bankers, because you have to have the mindset truly of a banker. Like many will be called, but few will be chosen, not by us, but by themselves, because individuals oftentimes will trick themselves out of their spots because of what we've been preconditioned to do, be, and have. So that would be more of an intensive, not like challenging intensive, but like smaller intensive training. So that way we can make sure everyone involved is able to not only receive maximized value and benefit, but also operate from a maximized value and benefit.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Javar?
Yeah, so my question is, until we are able to become our own bankers, do you have like any recommendations on where we should place our money, like which banks?
In your own? No, I'm just kidding. I'm really a firm walker and talker of leveraging cash value life insurance as an asset class and becoming your own bank, because that's actually where I actually hid this page. Let me see if I can unhide it since you asked that question. But that's actually a good question. Give me 1 second. Here. So what I would say is, I would say to put your money, I'll make sure I'm showing the screen. Okay. All right. So I would say put your money where the banks put their money. I don't know if y'all can read this, but this essentially says these are banks ranked by life insurance assets. Right. So if I'm beginning to think like a banker, the first question I want to know is, well, where are the banks putting the money that I put in the bank? And they're leveraging life insurance assets because of the power that it carries. I'm not going to go into that at this time, but if you can, I know that it's health merited and there's different factors that are included, but truly life insurance is the best place because you have the most access to all of the banking functionalities to operate as your own private family bank than any other financial vehicle that there is. So hopefully that answers your question. Make sure this is still showing. Yeah. And then is there any more questions before we move on?
Yes, Sister Gwen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. The question that I had, the young man just asked which bank would we put our money in, but would it be a good idea to only use your debit card from that bank to pay your bills and put gas in your car, and the rest go to the bank, get cash out for whatever your expenses are, food, and when you ain't got no more money in your hand, you ain't got no more money to spend? Would that be a good idea?
Sister Gwendolyn, that is a great point that you made. And I want to now clarify that absolutely you should. So even having 3 months of your expenses or emergency expenses in the bank is totally feasible. But anything past 90 days, we should definitely be looking at places where we're actually going to get the most amount of value from our money, our soldiers. But yes, at least 3 to 6 months just in the bank with your debit card that's suitable. Like Brother Ben said, we're all going to be consumers of in some way, shape, or form. We're not saying skip the bank totally, don't use the bank is the devil. Not really. What we're saying is that the rules are written by them. So now that we understand there's a game being played, we just want to kind of play by their rules and not be played by their rules, if that makes sense. Okay, are there any more questions before I move forward? I'll be complete in a minute.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Alexis, can you provide your link for one-on-one consultations? A few people have asked and messaged me, DM me personally. So
Yes, ma'am. I will pull that up now. And then if there's no more questions, I will move forward. Is it okay if I just put it in the chat, sister?
Yes, ma'am. And we do have Sister Shelan.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Greetings, and so glad to have you here. Okay, you mentioned about starting to become a banker. Is there a certain amount of monies in particular needed to start that process within your family?
Great question. I would say there's less of an amount of money and more an amount of paradigm shifts, right? Like within the family. Because if everybody in the family pulls together 10% of their income, that would be a substantial amount of money, if that makes sense. So I would say starting with mindset first and principles versus amount. Sometimes we get caught up on amount instead of principle. For example, one of the power calls that Brother Ben and I did for Wealth Wednesday was how to become the bank if you have less than $100,000. Because it's less about the amount of money. You can begin your own banking principle and ideal with $200 to $500 a month. You can put as much as $50,000 or $100,000. So I would say begin with the principles over the actual amount, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then do we have any last?
Yes, ma'am. We have Brother Brian.
Okay.
How you doing? My question was about what the brother had said about storing your funds.
Mm-hmm.
Given the inflation rate with the fiat currency we have now, how would you feel about precious metals, silver and gold?
I think that it depends on a couple of different things. Like it just depends. It will have to be a depends answer. Just because like the price of gold, the price of silver changes, and the modern day precious metals are not really gold and silver as much anymore as they were before. We're now moving to other forms of currency that store value. Like digital assets, digital currency, they're also starting to hold similar value. So I would just say it depends.
Nick Stone.
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
All right.
I came on a little late, so you guys might have answered this question already. Aside from out of breath, I'm working out. But are you able to do this as far as like starting your own bank individually, or do you need like family members or a collective group? Because my family, I don't know if it'll take some time for them to get their heads around this and gain the trust and work together and all that. But I'm wondering if this is something that I could do on my own starting out.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Again, it's more about the principles, less than like us actually going somewhere to start a bank. It's more about us just operating and making sure our money is being put to work like the banks put their money to work. And I don't know if you already have booked a call, but once you do, we go over your financial picture and where you are and teach you the most suitable way for you to become a bank for your financial situation. Because again, it's more about the principles than the actual product, if that makes sense. Like there's
Yes,
not like
ma'am.
a product per se that everyone puts their money into and then it becomes a thing. It's more like I operate like a banker. So my 10%, 20%, 30% that I pay myself first, I'm accumulating it like the bank does, and then I'm loaning it out either to myself or to investments, whatever the case may be. That's definitely something that you can also do. Even if you have a 401k, you are technically exercising some of the banking rules. Technically, there's a lot that we're still missing because you're still an investor, because we can lose our bottom line. But you can accumulate the money, you can borrow the money, you can borrow from your 401k or your IRA, and you can go put it in a property and invest it. Those are principles of banking. So it's more about the principles. So it's definitely something that you can do on your own.
Got it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
I have a question.
So, oh, go ahead, Brother Ben.
Can you clarify it depends so that there's understanding? Obviously, as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, everybody's going to remember the Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying that one day that the medium of exchange will be, he said he pulled out a gold coin and said the medium of exchange will be gold. So I'm assuming that the brother's question or those who disagree will be coming from that perspective, is that he said that one day the medium of exchange will be gold. So I would assume that it's based on what you're trying to do right now and what you're trying to use it for. So can you clarify what you mean by it depends to, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be in the back of everyone's mind.
Yeah, so it's exactly what number one, it depends on how much you have to invest. It depends on what your goal is with the goals, right? That may not be something we see in our lifetime per se. That may be something that we leave in our legacy letter for our children, but it may or may not be something that we see. And then also it depends because there are gold-backed central bank digital currencies, right? Like right now, we can't walk into a store and give them a gold bar and say, this is our currency. So that's kind of why it depends. It's like, are you doing it for value for a later time? Are you doing it just to have something to trade in the case that something doesn't go well? Those would be varying factors. Some individuals are only into digital currency. I know we had a brother who came on and was speaking about his investment into digital currencies, which is a very much so a real currency. They have gold-backed central bank digital currencies, which is still gold. You still have the same receipt for the golds, but you have it in the form of digital currency. So that's why I say it really just depends.
And thank you for clarifying that, because whenever I heard, I think the minister as well has talked about how the gold standard went away at a certain period of time. And so almost like it wasn't a problem when the dollar or whatever was backed by gold. The problem is that the dollar is not backed by gold. So if there's another way that is backed by gold, then it's not fiat. From my understanding, you can clarify on that, but that's how I understand it. The problem is that it went away from the gold standard and that it's not backed by gold. And another brother brought up brought up an idea, and maybe people can chime in on this. He said that yes, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that about the gold, but again, when she say it depends, his perspective was, which I never thought about this. If I have $1 million in gold bars and I have to move we're taught to get passports too. So if there's a time where we have to get up and leave, how am I going to transport $1 million worth of gold bars? How do I transport that? There may be a way. I don't know it, and he don't know it. So if I got this gold and I got this safe in my home, or whatever the case may be, and we got to evacuate, we got to move, it's an emergency. As we know, we were taught times like this could come. How do I move all of that? Or do I lose that and is left behind because I don't have enough storage? I don't have enough, that's a lot of weight and all that type of stuff. So there may be a way to transport it. There may be a easier way to do that I'm not aware of. But that is something that he said. So if there is a way that it can be backed by gold, from my understanding, when I've heard it taught as well, is that the problem was that the dollar was just no longer backed by gold.
Exactly. And so also too, one of the first courses that we have once they opt into BWF is we actually go over the history of money. We go over the history of banking, right? Right now we're kind of looking at it from a macro perspective, but from a micro perspective, because we're like in on the certain principles, you pretty much had a roadmap to the right way, but we want to look at it from a macro perspective. Brother Ben had a great point. He said that the money was backed by gold. Up until 1974, the US dollar was backed by gold. 1970s, beginning in 1971 to 1974, under Nixon's presidency, I mean, if you had gold, they were literally taking you to prison. Like literally there were signs, you need to turn your gold in or you're going to prison, because they wanted to collect the gold. So that's where it comes, again, just to reiterate why we want the gold, kind of what we plan on doing with it, and if it's something that we're doing for value now or value later, because this is just a fun fact. BRICS, right? And this is not to go too deep into what's going on, but this is very key for everybody who's within the sound of my voice, because we all live in America and we're all affected by the things that happen in this country. When Russia attacked Ukraine, when Russia attacked Ukraine, our president reciprocated and retaliated by freezing all of Russia's assets. So we talk about the bank. America has a bank, or governs a bank called the Swiss bank. You can put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of the Swiss bank. I don't know that I had even heard of it before 4 years ago. So I had never heard of Swiss bank. But basically that bank essentially, so some individuals have heard of it, which is amazing. So that bank is pretty much governs all of the world trend. It holds all the world currencies, right? Because we are the dominant world currency currently, right? We're losing that position, but that's where we were. Our president froze all of their assets. So it would be equivalent to you waking up in the morning, like if we're using the example of the mother and the child that we were using, I'm upset with the child, right? Or the child's upset with me, and I wake up and all of my assets are frozen. They're coders. And you're like, what did you do? They're like, we locked up all your assets, Mom. Why would you do that? Because you upset me. America locked up all of their resources. So Russia went to China and said, hey, together we have more gold reserves than the US. They're big sleep. The US has been big sleep. They unpegged the only mineral that's attached to God from their fiat. So why don't we come together? I know we were enemies, but let's come together and let's put our gold together. Let's also bring in Brazil, India, China, and South Africa, because they also have gold. And we know that digital currency is the wave. We know that that's the next human evolution. We're going to create a digital currency that's backed by the central bank, which is equivalent to our Federal Reserve, but it's backed by gold. So the question is, would I want to have a gold bar in today's time, or would I want to have a digital currency that's backed and guaranteed by gold reserves? Just something to think about. That can also help us understand why the economy is kind of going the way it's going, because we're losing the value of our dollar because it's not backed by anything. And all of the countries that do have real minerals and do have real value said, wait a minute, we need to get back to God's order. We need to get back to the way things were supposed to be. We'll depeg America off of everything so that we can realign and get things back in alignment with the assignment. So that's even a little bit more depth about why I say it depends, just so that some clarity can be had if need be. So we have about 20 minutes left, so I want to try to get these last couple of points in. So if there's any last questions, we can cover them. So before I go over the third and fourth key, remember I was saying those quotes, I really like to set an intention for us to focus on. And so one of the things that I really enjoyed listening to was Brother Nuri Muhammad. Brother Ben, do you mind if I share a little clip of Brother Nuri Muhammad? It's like 3 or 4 minutes long.
Sure, go ahead.
To align with quote. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to share this really quick clip that I was doing some research on. And then note before that the preface is, our people perish due to none other than a lack of knowledge. That's going to be the preface for this really quick video that I'm going to show you all before we get into point 3 and 4. So give me 1 second.
While she's pulling this up, man, if y'all not inviting nobody to be on these calls in the morning, you ought to be mad at yourself. Man, look at all this game we getting, man, that we ain't get growing up. Man, you got a cousin that you can invite to this. You got a little sister, little brother, or uncle that you can invite to these classes. You know, we all getting some type of value from these classes, man, that we wish that we got when we was 16, 15, 17. How much further along would we be if we, was going into our 20s with this type of information?
Spend it.
Uh-oh.
Black people bring white people.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, Brother Ben. We all good.
Shout out to Sister Shelan, said, I definitely did, and they are here. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so I have it pulled up. Pardon it, cutting your wisdom, Brother Ben. I didn't know it was going to play right away. Here we go. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
We can see it.
Okay. So it is going to be just until 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll go ahead and set my timer. We can make sure.
I heard you once say, we know how to make money, we just don't know how to spend it. Black people blame white people for 95% of our problems and still spend 97% of our money with them. Can you elaborate on that comment, please?
That's exactly, we're close to the quote. I think I said that we've got dollars, but what we need is cents. When you count the mathematics and look at Black people as a nation, there's 233 independent nations on the earth. Now, out of the 233 independent nations, Black people at $1.3 trillion are the 8th richest nation in the world. Yet, we don't have anything in our community that we can call our own. So by the simple fact that we're the 8th richest nation on the earth and we don't have our own educational system, don't feed ourselves, grow our own food, is a sign that we got dollars, but we need some sense. So I said we blame the white man for 95% of our problems, but we still spend 97% of our money with them. That's bass accurate, if you count that.
And what's wild to just observe life as it is. So every city I go to, I'm here in Indianapolis, right? And when I look around, I see Black people suffering. But then on the other hand, people tell me Black people are doing great. And sometimes I think they distort their position for the masses of the people.
Well, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad made this revolutionary observation about how to properly judge the rise or the fall of us as a nation. He said, no one individual can rise above the condition of their people. So you never should judge the individual few poster child mannequins in the storehouse of democracy's window, Negroes that have made it to justify that we have made it as a people. We do have $1.3 trillion in money. That's income, though, and that's not wealth. So when the math is calculated, Black people only possess less than 2% of the wealth of the United States of America. Income and wealth are two different concepts. Income is the money you earn by exchange of your time or the sale of a good product or service. But wealth is when you exchange that money for something that either keeps value or increases in value over time. Black people, we are the leaders in unnecessary spending. We buy stuff we don't need from people that we don't like to impress people we don't know. And at the end of the math of the equation, we end up having nothing but a whole bunch of name brand stuff, but never businesses that we can pass down to our children or real estate that increases or keeps its value over time. So we've got income, but we don't have the wealth. That's why I said we've got dollars, but we need some sense. Out of that $1.3 trillion, Brother Lynn, do you know that we spend $23 billion a year on clothes, $11 billion a year on furniture, $3.2 billion on keeping up with the latest cell phone that came out, $46 billion on cars, $60 billion on legal and illegal drugs, $32 billion dressing up the outside of our head. But when it comes to dressing up the inside of our mind, which is the purchase of books, only 300 million is purchased in books. That would be fine if God said in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed from a lack of sow-ins, or my people are destroyed from a lack of temple tapers or faith, but my people are destroyed from a lack of knowledge. So we should be investing more in the building up of the mind and building up of our character, getting the sense that we need to go with those dollars, so that when we marry our wealth with some wisdom, we can actually leave something behind for our children and our children's children they can call their own.
I'm glad you said that. I have to put myself out there before I criticize anyone, right? When I was younger, based on my environment, it's a learned behavior. I'm ashamed to say this now publicly, but I thought I had to spend money. I really thought I had to spend money. Like if I had $100 in my pocket, I thought if I went out, I had to spend $100. I'm not sure if you had that mind frame younger on.
Well, I did too. You know, unfortunately, Black people's brains have been hardwired where we connect happiness to spending. We have to disconnect the wires in our brain from happiness and spending and take it from happiness to saving, happiness to investing. Do you know that rich people stay rich because they pretend to be poor? And poor people stay poor because they pretend to be rich. We spend money. We literally are trying to buy respect, and we go broke trying to look rich. So when the math is done, I was talking to a brother in our barbershop one day.
Yes, I just wanted to share that. Those gems really quickly before we jump back into the key point. All right, so even before then, do we have any key takeaways, thoughts, observations? Okay, I see some wow faces. Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I wanted to share that clip before I move forward onto this portion here.
We did have two people. If you
okay.
Brother Javon.
You can skip me. I'll wait to the end to ask because the topics change. So I'll ask at the end.
Okay, Brother Bryant.
Same with me. I'll wait till the end.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right, so we're good to go. I will go back. Give me 1 second. All right. Let me know if you can see the screen. Okay. Can you all see this okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So again, I just wanted to show that clip for the preface of the quote that our people perish due to none other than a lack of knowledge. And so our main goal is to really make sure we have the sense with the dollars, right? That was also one of my main goals was partnering with Brother Ben, because he's really bringing you proven systems and strategies for success that will produce more dollars. But if we don't have more sense, if we're not focusing on the third and the fourth key of our key takeaways, as far as learning how to be the bank and saving income to create wealth, we will always get the short end of the stick, because we will continuously be in what we call a figure eight. So going fast, going nowhere. So the third key takeaway is to really focus on making sure that we, as Brother Nuri Muhammad said, we're connecting our neurological pathways from spending to saving. We want our happiness to be connected to saving to invest. We want our happiness to be connected to putting our soldiers to work for us, so that way our money is working harder for itself than we're working for it. And then also one of the sisters also brought this up, which was again one of my favorite keys of this book, is the investors and bankers are playing two different games with two separate set of rules. It's really key for us to know, because we've been conditioned to make money and we're looking forward to investing, which is great, but we want to invest like a banker and not like an investor. Allow the 95% of people who aren't familiar with these rules, if they want to do that, by all means. But for us who are learning this high level information, because first of all, only 5% of people, so that means that 5 out of every 1,000 people actually even sit down with an advisor or even have financial conversations. Only 1% of people actually understand this knowledge that you all are learning today and as of yesterday, and will be continuing to learn. So again, if the banker wrote the rules for both games, who do the game favor? We know that it favors the bank. So as investors, like I said, let the 95%, they may or may not know, but as the 1%, we're now investing like a bank and not like an investor. So we want to invest where the banks put their money because they're not willing to lose. When we invest and we have 401ks, IRAs, stocks, even real estate, bonds, there's no guarantee, there's no collateral. If they lose your money is just gone. Whereas as a banker, no, we want to know if this is my serious cash, if this is serious savings, if this is the money that my neurological pathways, this is the income that my neurological pathways is connecting to the happiness in advance that I'll receive when I have wealth. I want to make sure that I'm playing the game correctly, right? Because the average person is playing in a game that they don't even know exists. So they're losing at the game, which goes back to kind of what I prefaced earlier. If you decided after this call, I don't want to play the game of banking, well, you've been playing it since you were born and you're going to continue to play the game as long as you're operating, or we are operating within their economy. So unfortunately, the reward for the game that is being played is money. And the other team is beating us at this game due to our lack of knowledge. So our goal is to, one, obtain the knowledge, or as Brother Nuri Muhammad said, we want to marry our wealth with the wisdom. Because the wisdom has been written. There's a quote that says, if you want to hide something from a person, you put it in a book. The Modern Money Mechanics book, which was written by the Federal Reserve in 1913, that outlines all of these very principles, is there, and it's been there. We just haven't been exposed to it because we've been conditioned to look left when they're doing what's right, or they're looking right, rather. So the fourth key is just a basic look at how the banks work, less focus of what product to use or what bank do I use, and more so on the paradigm shift and the mindset shift of conditioning our mindset to become and think like the bank. So that's going to take time because we've been preconditioned. All of us put 2s in the chat when I said if you were taught about wealth, put a 1 in the chat. I said if you were not taught about wealth, put a 2 in the chat. And there were a lot of 2s in the chat. So that means that we all probably went through the same K through 12 system, and we've been conditioned to operate a certain way economically. So it's going to take work and transformation, which is why I'm so extremely grateful for Brother Ben for aligning and building wealthy families, because it truly is a paradigm shift. It's not a sales pitch. It's not a webinar. It's not that. Like, it's really a full transformation mentally that will take over time so that we can unlearn to relearn. Why? Because we've been conditioned, right? We've been conditioned to deposit our hard-earned money into banks, saving accounts, checking accounts, money market accounts, CDs, et cetera. And then we get excited because they're giving us 5%, but they're making 100 times that. So we want to shift that paradigm. We were also trained to think that our money is safe in those banks because we trust the bankers, right? We don't leave our house without locking our house. Normally, we don't leave our car without triple, us, we like to put the remote up in the air, you know what I'm saying? Put it over our head, click it a couple times to make sure the car is locked. Have that same mentality with the hard-earned money that you're working for, because the banks are not a safe place at this time, right? The largest bank in the world just collapsed last year in February. No one's talking about it, but it's really key because it's a domino effect. So that's important for us to know. Lastly, the bank uses our money, we know, 10 times, right? So if we have $1,000 that we deposit, that's about $10,000 in loans for the bank for them to loan out. And so the summary of that is still the main focal point of us focusing on not perishing by obtaining the knowledge that we need. And the summary of that is this: I don't want us to be angry. I have some clients that are angry. I'm like, what's your key takeaway? I'm mad because I've been putting my money. Let's be enlightened and let's be grateful that Allah has chosen us with this knowledge for us to know the information. And we can stay on the ledge of knowing, which is what knowledge is. It's on the ledge of knowing something. You're on the ledge, meaning you can know, but to know and not to do is not to know. So now that we know, let's be happy. Like, right? Let's be happy that there is a blueprint for us. Let's be happy. The video that Brother Ben shared yesterday of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said, let us be grateful for the servant that God chooses to bring the information to you, i.e. Brother Ben, in this case, right? We have knowledge and all of us have value to add. So we're all servants that will bring forth knowledge as well. But really just making sure that we're grateful for this information. Right? So we're essentially working on becoming the banker. And so we can do this by adopting their mindset and their rules, at least the positive ones that align with your moral practices, right? We don't want to do any forms or acts of riba. I like what one of the brothers shared where he said, abusing versus using, right? We don't want to adopt any of their abusive ways. Although Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, because we were born in this country, we do have, some of their ways or whatnot. So let's diminish those and let's focus on the positive ones that are cultivating their economy. So we want to understand how they manage their money. We want to understand what financial strategies that they use to multiply their money, and ultimately just ensure that we're working to leave a legacy for the next generation of bankers in our family, right? Because these are conversations, like Brother Ben said, bring your cousin, your auntie, your children, have them in on this, especially Wealth Wednesdays and the different dinner conversations you're having or dinner table conversations that you're having, so that these can be regular conversations that we have and they're not foreign to us. As I mentioned on the last slide, we've truly been conditioned to deposit our money into banks. So why not deposit it into our own personal bank, right? Why not identify what vehicles we can use for whatever level that we're at this time to create our own infrastructure where we can ensure that our money is working harder for itself than we're working for it. Right. And then lastly, why not leverage our money at the same time and in the same manner that banks manage their money? And so I wanted to share this really quick clip as we close out so that you can have a visual of how the banking system works and probably get a clue, maybe a light bulb will go off, and I'm interested to know after, and how you can become your own bank as well.
Banks has to do in regards to the banking system.
Let's see, it looks like it went back.
This is what we've been taught to do in regards to the banking system. First, we earn an income, and we've been taught to give up control of that money, and we immediately deposit it into a traditional bank. Then, when we make the deposit into the bank, it becomes an asset to us. However, it is truly a liability to the bank because the bank now owes that money back to you. So the bank wants to turn the liability into an asset immediately. And how do they do that? In the form of loans. We've all borrowed money from the bank, so most of us are familiar with this process. When the loan goes out, new money is created. And that money has to go somewhere. Usually, that money ends up back into a traditional bank, also known as the banking system. So as that money makes its way back into the bank then takes that liability and turns it into an asset. Loans that asset out. And this is how the banks turn our deposits into assets. And this is also how the banks make 400 to 1,300% more than you do on the money you worked for. We can all take this as a learning lesson so that we now know the model of how we can become the bank. Because when we're the bank and we control all of this, meaning the deposits, the loans, the interest charge on the loans as well, with this entire cycle, and we subtract all of the bad parts, like the credit, fiat money, and the whole system that is broken, we can control this and we can control our entire financial future.
Yes. So I just wanted to drop that little video so that way there can be a visual as well as we close out. So is there any last questions, thoughts, observations, or feedback before we segue? I'm curious. Brother Ben, can I ask Brother Ben what was one of your key takeaways? Because after watching the video yesterday, Brother Ben has some key takeaways. It's the observance for me.
My key takeaway is the fact that we could do this as a community. And I'm interested in us being able to do that because that's what I brought up last week about That's a great idea. I've read it in Message to the Black Man several times, but to be able to structure that and have a structured way of doing it is what I'm mostly excited about. We often say do for self. We often say pool our resources. And I just know that that is what we should do, but there's a structured way to actually do it. And many of us have not studied or even know the way to do it. It's not, well, everybody just, put your cash up in there and we just go, well, I mean, that's the ghetto way. That's good intention. That's the good heart. But it's like, okay, all right now. Okay, I got $100,000, I want to put in, or, ain't nobody finna be just cash shopping, just anybody. So it's like, okay, there's a way for us to do this. And so to have, God willing, in the program to be able to provide a way that we can eventually do this is what I'm most excited about. So that's my key takeaway as far as what was shared with us today. And having a plan of what you want to do, I think is going to be very key as well. You mentioned, hey, we're already another key takeaway was we're already lending our money out. You know what I mean? By giving it to the bank, you're loaning it to the bank. Now it's poor terms. If you was to ask me, they're able to use your money. You're loaning them money to go do what they want with the money. They're executing on it. They're saying, well, shoot, I'm finna go do this. I'm finna go get some life insurance. I'm finna do this with real estate. I'm finna do this with I'm gonna loan your money out that you gave me, charge more interest, and then you have agreed to only get 0.01 back. That's literally what we're saying we're agreeing to when we leave our money in the bank. And I know that many of us are probably leaving our money in the bank for convenience. I can send it, I can Zelle it, I can pay my bills with it, but it's like, okay, we have to start thinking about what are some other ways that we can utilize the money. So that was a paradigm shift for me to say when the brother asked, well, how can we, loan, or how can we become the banker? You said, well, technically you're already loaning it out. I never thought about it from that perspective. So it makes you think more intentionally about your money versus kind of just being passive. Like, we know the tradition is to put it in the bank and pay bills and get it when you need it and all that. But it's like, hey, I've had 10,000 in the bank. I've had 5,000 in the bank. Could I have done something else with it? If I've had $50,000 in the bank, wow, could I have done something else with it? And it makes you think. And like you said, it's just a lack of knowledge. A lot of people that we may, know of that are successful, it's not that God has just said, hey, I want them to be blessed and I don't want you to be blessed. No, they just have access to some knowledge and then they executed on the knowledge that you maybe just didn't have. And that's the only difference.
Exactly. Those are great key takeaways.
All right. Brother Javon.
Yes, thank you. So my question, it kind of goes back to the life insurance topic. Of course, still trying to get through the paradigm shift and understand, but I got confused about it. So, like, let's say you have maybe $10,000-$20,000 that's in a traditional bank, and are you saying that you can take that money from the bank and put it into the life insurance policy? Or are you saying buy a life insurance policy and then just start paying that, like, let's say monthly or something like that? That's what my confusion is.
So that's a great question. The answer is yes to both, because when it comes to using it as an asset class, you can structure it in a way that's most beneficial for you. So you absolutely can just take the 10,000 and put it there and give yourself duplicated purchasing power and these advantages. Or you can break up the 10,000 and pay monthly. It really just depends on what your strategy is and what exactly you're looking to do. So like life insurance, also, we can look at it like, how they say that 99% or 90% of millionaires in America are in real estate. Well, 100% of billionaires are in banking. And so when you look at the life insurance contract like a property, when you look at the life insurance contract like a property, it makes more sense, right? Because you're able to really understand equity. So just the way a home builds equity and you can borrow against it in the form of a home equity line of credit, your cash value life insurance contract also builds equity and you can borrow from it to duplicate your purchasing power. So when you look at it that way, it kind of helps you decide how you would want to fund it or build it.
Okay. And so that's similar to that concept in the book, the black box. Is that what they're talking about? Like that's one way to apply it.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Okay.
when you're referencing the black box as far as like the income producing assets.
Yes.
Exactly. There's the income producing aspect, right? So the banks, the first part of the bank is that they figure out one of the things that stood out to me about the book is that it says when you're becoming a bank, the banker is the only person in the equation who doesn't need to start with their own money, who doesn't even need to have their own money, right? Because the banks are leveraging the customers to create the money, right? They're using it to create the cash. And then how they're making more money on the cash is what black box they decide to put it in, which vehicle matches the mechanics of money that they're looking for to multiply it. So the black box can be life insurance, absolutely. It can be other vehicles as well that will be producing interest on that money or on your soldiers, as Brother Remus referenced.
Thank you. That makes a lot more sense now.
Yes, yes.
All right, we got Brother Bryant.
Yes, sir. It's weird that the brother question was similar to mine. It was about the life insurance. I wanted to ask you. I had heard someone make a statement about the those policies where you put money into it, but for whatever reason, I don't know what happened to this one brother. He stopped making payments, and he said that he just lost all his money. Is that possible?
So for the life insurance, when you're putting in money, you're essentially securing a death benefit, right? So you're securing a guaranteed instant estate for your family that you didn't have before. So like, for example, I'll acknowledge someone in the chat just said, when you put your money in a life insurance policy, it's not yours anymore. It becomes cash value. It's no longer your cash. If we put our money in any vehicle, it's no longer our money. It becomes the cash value for that asset. But what is the benefit that they're giving you for you lending them your money? In the case of insurance, they're also contractually guaranteeing an instant estate, right? Meaning if you're paying $500 a month, let's just say hypothetically, and they guarantee $100,000 death benefit, well, you didn't have $100,000. They're guaranteeing $100,000. So if you stop paying in year 5, I mean, I'm not going to do the numbers on it right this second, but you still didn't equate, you would still be getting out much more than you put in. So they will lapse the contract if it doesn't have the cash value to withhold, or you're not contributing anymore to the community pool. Life insurance carriers are also like credit unions in essence of the members, the policyholders are what keep up the reserves. So everyone's putting in because they know that they're going to pay out something that that member has not yet put in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it was, he put like 20 grand. I don't want to inflate the number, but he was doing well. He put 20 grand, then he ran into hard times and didn't make the payments. And didn't quite understand that all his $20,000 will be gone because he missed his payments.
How the policy is structured, 95% of agents don't properly structure these contracts correctly. That can absolutely happen because I was on the track for that to happen to myself as well, which is why I got licensed in the industry, because I know that the wealthy have been using it for the past 150 years. So for me, I wanted to understand, well, if this agent who's been in the industry for 15 years improperly structured this vehicle, I'll put it on my heart to get licensed myself so that I can understand how to properly structure the vehicle. It's just like if you put water in your gas tank instead of gas, will we say the car is faulty, or will we say that the way that it was maintained is not correct? So it would kind of be just wanting to make sure that it's properly structured to avoid those things from happening. Can they happen? Yes. When it's properly structured, no. That wouldn't happen, because if he put in 20,000 and it's properly structured, the insurance carrier would leverage the 20,000 that he put in to essentially uphold the policy. So hopefully That makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to address something. Kevin, I see you kind of rebutting or saying things that I'm hearing the opposite. I don't want that to happen inside of the chat. Would you like to speak so you can get it all out? Because I don't like that that's being stated while she's talking. So I can bring you up and let you get whatever you want to get out so that that doesn't happen in the chat. Would you like to speak?
The silence says a lot.
I'm at work and it's kind of loud. So that's why I can bring some more off mute.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, it's hard to hear you. But yeah, if you can save those chats and maybe come speak, because that can be that can throw people off mentally. So if you have something to say that's in rebut literally what she's saying, I'd rather you just come get it out so that people's not having to read that and wonder what's going on. So you can get it out and allow her to speak without having rebuttals inside of the chat.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right. Sister Shalon.
Okay, yes. Thank you, dear, for what it is that you're giving us. And thank you for going to get yourself licensed so that, and please excuse my camera, going to get your self-licensed so that you can make sure that it is properly structured. I'm so glad that you are on this team. I do believe like wholeheartedly that you're just amazing and the one for us, especially with what Brother Ben is wanting to do with us. He definitely just mentioned this same thing a couple of days ago with us. So it's beautiful that it's coming up as it is now. Okay, so last night in our class, we so dealt on mindset. So the fact that you're speaking on that now, it just takes me right back to class last night, which was absolutely amazing. Brother Ben is so focused on us changing our mindset before we really focus on doing anything, especially to this magnitude. So my mindset has just been shifted so greatly with this conversation that we're having now with what it is that you've brought to us and in the structured way that is being brought to us. I'm just so in alignment with this and so excited about this. It also, especially when you speak on the paradigm shift, it's like my mind is having a paradigm shift mentally, spiritually, and then financially. I'm just on such a different trajectory than I was on a couple of days ago. And then with speaking on the when you talked about how it was shut down, how the wickedness of this government has shut down the monetary avenue, for lack of a better word, and then Russia and China and all of them are gathering together to do what needs to be done with regard to having their finances back. It made me think about the class also with Brother Ben and the digital real estate that that he does. Okay, so it made me think about that when Sister Yolanda said, well, can we do both with regard to the gold and the shift with on that end? And when you said digitally is the way that this is going to end up being, which we've all heard and know that. So it took me again, of course, to the digital real estate with Brother Ben. That program is just magnificent in itself, and it's just amazing how he has brought that. So I just want to share if you all are not on, especially for the ones that I've invited, and thank you for being here, and thank yourself for being here with this wealth of knowledge that you've just gained. Additionally, when she spoke about digitally and how it's going to come around. If you have not got into the or heard anything about the webinar that Brother Ben is doing now consistently, daily, on a daily basis, many different times, go to www.DRE, digital real estate, those acronyms, webinar, drewebinar.com. Get on there and find out about this digital world that we're getting ready to get in, that we should be in right now, and all that he has to offer with this digital real estate. It's a whole new shift that's in alignment with the BWF. That's going to go coincide together, one and the same. Get on that webinar and find out how that could help you put all of this together in a magnificent way. Your life is going to change for the better, and you will not ever regret this type of structure in your life. Paradigm shift on steroids. That's all I had to share.
Sister Shalon, thank you so much for sharing that. For first of all, your key takeaways, your wisdom, and the sentiments, and just really the things that stood out to you as well. And I just want to add this one last thing as I close my segment. I love high level debates, right? Because I focus on principles over products. So regardless of what products people decide that they want to build their wealth in, as long as the Building Wealthy Families is instilling the principles of prudence, they are going to be very successful, right? Whether you use life insurance or any other asset class, if you use real estate, if you use digital real estate, we're here to focus on principles and not products. I tell my clients all the time, don't listen to what I'm saying. I want to teach you the prudent principles that have stood the test of time so that you can make a decision, because all things are vanity, right? Products are vanity, meaning they will change. Banks will have new products. Every financial institution will have new products and they'll have new things. People sell the products based on their philosophies about the products. All sales individuals have had an experience and they're selling their paradigm on the product and how it solves your problem. Here, as we're building wealthy families, our focus is on the principles, not the products or the philosophies of people. As long as you have the prudent principles, you can take those principles and measure them up against any asset class and identify if it works for you. Are these principles, right? And we'll go deeper into the principles, which we have before, but we're going to recap them. If those principles maximize the asset class that you choose, that is where you go. We don't do it based off of a meme or based off Instagram or based off any financial advice. I mean, you can do it based off of a financial advisor, but nobody cares more about your financial future than you do. So I just wanted to put that there so that way that can be the focal point, not a mutual fund, not of this, not of that, not of this. That's why economists and our politicians can't get it together because they're bickering back and forth about philosophies when we really need to just focus on the principles that have stood the test of time. So I'm going to close out with that. Those are all of my points. We covered key takeaways from the Bankers Code, chapter 1 through 3. We have some paradigm shifting moments as well. So if there's any last thoughts, feedbacks, or observations before I segue, I'm open, and I appreciate all of you in advance for you being in alignment with your assignment.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that is all I have, and I am complete.
Cool. So we have 5 people. If you got that, you got time?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, we got these last 5. So we got 1, 2. So we ending off with Javier. Sister Simone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Brother Ben and Sister Alexis, for this powerful dynamic duo that you all have created. And I am glad that we had the vetting process for Sister Alexis because now I know why. And so it's awesome. I missed yesterday, so Brother Ben, you can answer this question for me. I was in a deposition, so I could not get on the call. I would like to know if that's going to be posted. I'd also like to say that I am excited about this, but there was some mention about monies and how to do things and how to make things work and happen. And I just want to make this statement. I remember at one point in time here, we didn't have a Muhammad University of Islam. And so the Catholic school was our next step. And I remember taking my husband and I going to the school to put our children in the school. And they had this thing where you had to give $7 a week. Okay. So we thought, cool, we'll give the $28 a month and we'll be done with it. But they didn't want that. They wanted discipline. They wanted organization. And so you could not pay $28 a month. You had to actually give that $7 for that week on a particular day so that they could gather that money and do whatever they decided to do for the children, the school or whatever. And so that makes me think about us and as a people or as a group, you know, having the sense of discipline when we decide to do something, and not struggling with when and how we're going to do it, because they did not accept that idea of paying it once a month. And so, you know, we had to do what we needed to do. But anyway, I appreciate you guys to the utmost, and I look forward to learning more. I heard Brother Ben, I think, say something about just a lack of knowledge. I've had no sense to my person before, and I've had a great amount to my person before. And in either direction, I did not have the knowledge as to what to do with it. And that's why I'm where I'm at today. And so, inshallah, I pray that with, you know, Brother Ben, the BWF, and the Drea thing, and Sister Alexis, with your knowledge and being able to tap in with you, that I will succeed at this earlier now than later. Thank you all so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for sharing that. And that is the link that she just put inside of there to book your one-on-ones. I know a lot of y'all got personal questions and you need personal, feedback. Click that Calendly link, and that's how you can book a one-on-one. Sister Sally.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Alaikum salam.
My question, first I want to say, thank you, Brother Ben, for putting this platform together, and Sister Alexis, we both coming together and putting this paradigm shift together for the family. My question was in regard to what's going on with the banks and economics and all that stuff going on. We know that the banks are going to close out, or whatever's going to happen with the banks. How does the change with the platform go with, is it going to be in an app, like how you transfer money over? Like we have Cash App today, we have PayPal, and all these different pay apps and stuff. If the banks are going to be closing, like how do you transfer your money? What vehicle would we be able to use to be able to put the money from to go into your cash reserve?
Great question. So as of now, I would say, so right now they use something called an EFT form that they've been using for about the last 90 years or so. And an EFT form stands for electronic funds transfer. Now, when we say like the bank shutting down, I'm not a fortune teller, but based on studying just economics and kind of understanding it from a macro and micro perspective, I don't really foresee that all the banks would just shut down and we don't really have a bank, but it would be more so just the controlled aspect of banking. So I believe we would still be able to kind of do those transactions, but the way in which they're tracked and monitored would change. For example, in like Australia and Canada, they're already implementing their CBDCs, which is central banking digital currencies, right? Where they're controlling how much money they can spend. So they can only spend $1,000 a day. Nothing further can go out of the account more than $1,000 a day. So the banking system is still there, but it's definitely forever changed than, it's much different in the manner that we've ever experienced it before, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And real quick, I want to show you guys how to access the replays. I forgot Sister asked about the replays. Inside of your, hold on, let me get this together. Inside of your Power Call, again, www.powercall.net for those who want to stay updated. When you go here, you're going to see these sections right here. This is where so if you want to post about the teachings, you post it here, right? If you got something general, post it here. Testimonials, you post it here. If you're ready to attend the mosque, you post it here. Then if you go to more and go to Power Call replays right here, this is where all the replays are posted. So yesterday, as you can see, that was posted. All the replays are going to always be posted right here. All the replays. So that's where you guys can find that. And this is not for you guys to post, so please don't post in Power Call replays. You guys can comment, of course, but this is only so that we can keep it structured and make sure whenever somebody misses, they can just come to Power Call Replays and just look at it right here. Okay. All right. Let's go to, we got two more, I think. Oh, three more. Brother Daniel.
Yes, sir. One of my key takeaways first was what our brother Ben already mentioned, which is the group operations with the credit union. That's right in line with what we're taught in the Nation of Islam, and that's a beautiful point. I was going to ask, was that the most effective way? But my mind kind of already answered it. When you're becoming a banker, that group operations and doing it through the credit union, I see would yield great considerable power. Also, one of my takeaways, sister, when you talked about personal sacrifice for the long-term goal, that resonated with me because it reminds me of what Brother Beard said. When you studying the teachings, you got to find some way to implement it immediately. And what better way to start than with yourself? And if I can't make personal sacrifices to begin to save money, and I'm always working in the negative, that's a good sign that I won't have no money to even put in the credit union. So that personal sacrifice has to start immediately. So when this does become a reality, I have an investment to put into a group operation where we're saving money. And last but not least, dealing with gold. You said it depends on your situation, to make that decision. And you close. It was some words you used about. Well, I don't remember that, but I think that's powerful because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in the Fall of America that the dollar will collapse, and that he said, "What does 100% inflation look like?" Evidently, it was so bad. He said, "I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine." So it's going to look different in different areas and different people. Real quick, I saw the movie Civil War, and the dollar had collapsed. And in one area, somebody was trying to buy a gallon of gas, and he said, "I got 300 American dollars." He said, "No. What other currency do you have?" Then he said, "I got it in Canadian money." He said, "I'll take that." So evidently, the money in America had got so bad, the man was taking Canadian dollars. Then he went to another community, and they had stores open, and they looked at it a little different. So maybe their money situation would have been different. So the gold and silver is to deal with a complete collapse. And I did understand that banks are now buying billions of dollars in gold. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just to touch on that point, they're also buying a lot of digital current, like back gold currencies. Even the Bitcoin ETF, won't go too far into that, but just do a little researching on companies like BlackRock. BlackRock they hold most of America's wealth globally as well. They own 30% of crypto. They own 30% of this digital asset that they believe is going to hold the value moving forward, because the US dollar has lost a lot of its value and will not have much value. And that again is why we want to focus on the principles of prudence and not just the products, because we're fighting a bigger battle here. We're just now learning to save. We're just now learning to invest at a time when the dollar is 5% inflated, meaning even if you earn 5% where you're saving your money, if you didn't earn more than 5%, you actually lost purchasing power. So that's a really good point that you made.
All right. And then we have last two, Sister Randisha.
Assalamualaikum. So just a few things that just has stood out to me was I've never watched The Matrix, but please don't revoke my black card. But it was the proof. And when we listened to Brother Nori the other day, we stated the prototype when he was talking to Nick Cannon, the process, and then the proof. But in the banker's code, it says the average person is playing a game they don't even know exists. Sally, they're losing the game. Two, this reminds me of the science fiction movie The Matrix, where the main character in the movie, Neo, was introduced to the truth about his world by shedding light on the dark secrets that troubled him for so long. And then it was like very, very because I love to read, so when I read things right, I always go. But when it stated in the opening The inspiration for this book, The Secret to the Great Dynasty the World Has Ever Known. Long ago in the 1700s lived a man named Mayer, born in poverty in the ghettos of Frankfurt. One day he discovered a secret powerful enough to make him fabulously wealthy. Mayer taught his 5 sons his secret and then sent them to live throughout Europe. They in turn used the secret to build the greatest wealth international financial dynasty the world has ever known. I just think about that, and and it stated that they are the Rothschilds. So when I thought about that, it was just so much just to unpack. But as I close out, I just think that it all taught me today and the last couple of days that preparation meets opportunity and it will blow up every time. So I do have to say thank you to Brother Ben, and thank you so much, Sister Alexia, for providing your feedback.
Yes, ma'am.
Most
And then lastly, Brother Javier.
Peace, family. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, this definitely was a powerful call. I'm like, I forgot we was doing this, so I had get up early this morning. I was expecting to get on at like 6 o'clock, and I'm just like, oh man, we ain't doing the power call, so I'm at work, and I put my earbuds in. I'm finna try to look up something to do with finances on YouTube, just listen to something to learn something, and then that's when I got the text, and I'm glad got the text and clicked on the link because this definitely was powerful. But one of my biggest takeaways, like, and it's been my biggest takeaway since I even get introduced to this, is the whole like black box thing, like how it's basically like a box that's generating income and it's just sitting there. And the reason why that was my biggest takeaway, because it just it helped me understand a little bit more how much valuable actually your program is, Brother Ben, because with physical real estate, if basically you're leveraging like physical real estate that you have to maintain and you have to keep up with, and the money that it costs to do that, and things like that, to get a loan to make your spread, it's a lot cheaper and a lot less to manage a digital product. And if you leverage that, other than the money that it takes maybe to take a course or pay somebody to make it for you or whatever the case may be. Some people will even have, like Brother Ben's program, a product for you and everything all the way set up. So other than the risk of the initial investment of buying it, and maybe taking the time to like market it or put it out there properly so people see the value in it, in which you don't even have to do that, that's like your black box right there. That's like, and with the digital tools, just with AI and all that, you can literally automate everything. So of course you will have to invest time and money, but it just that one takeaway right there just showed me how powerful like digital real estate and just utilizing it. And also my last thing is basically when you teach the principle, and that's very important, like just understanding the principle, because without understanding the principles properly, not saying that I understand them all the way, but without understanding the principles properly, then you won't know how to translate the information into your avenue, like personally. And I knew I wasn't getting the principles at first, because when I heard the word bank, I think about a traditional bank, but it's literally the system. So I just unlocked so much information. But them was my main two takeaways, and I appreciate you all doing this.
Wow. Yes, sir. That's actually, and I mentioned that yesterday in the comments, but that's literally why I called it digital real estate. Literally. Not to that extent of what the Bankers Code said, but at that time, about 4 years ago, people was trying to get me into real estate. And they were saying, you get you a fourplex, and if you get you a fourplex, the 3 that you're renting out will be able to pay your mortgage. Obviously, we all kind of probably heard of that concept. And at that time, I said, man, you gotta shoot. If something break, you gotta fix it. I don't like fixing nothing. All that type of stuff. That's your responsibility. And I'm like, that's just a lot, man, just for $500 a door. And so I said, man, I got over 2,000 properties online. And what I meant by that was, man, I post a YouTube video, an Instagram video, a Facebook video is monetized. I'm getting paid off of that. And it's most of the time more than $500. If I got a digital product that's valuable and I got enough people that's going to it, I'm making more than what I would be making with a physical property. And I ain't got to manage it. Once it's up there, it's up there. And if I want to update it, I don't have to worry about coming in, renovating. No, I just put the PDF in there and hit save. It's easy to update. And I also said, I know people have dealt with problems with people staying in a home and you got to hire security to get them out the home and squat. And I said, I ain't got to worry about that. I'll just hit 2 buttons, hit your name and block you. Removed. So I said, it's a lot easier to manage the digital. Now, this is not to get people to go away from physical real estate. That was never my intentions. I'm just saying, to grow what I was doing is easier for me to take maybe 6 minutes or 60 minutes to create a nice video that could generate sales versus 6 months investing in a home. It doesn't take me a lot of money to build up my digital real estate. It may take me a little time, but a lot of money versus like getting a loan from the bank. So again, do both. I'll actually encourage you to build with digitals to put it into the physical, and get you some passive income that way. So to answer, what you were saying, that's literally kind of why I came up with the concept digital real estate, because to me, that was a way of doing real estate digitally without the hassle and all of the managing people and all that type of stuff. So yeah. Sister Alexis, do you have anything that you would like to close out with?
No, I have shared all of my pieces for today. I am complete.
All right. Well, thank you for your time once again, for being on, giving us this wealth of knowledge. And hopefully you guys are able to see a glimpse of what you're going to get inside of building wealthy families. I like how this all came about, y'all. Like, honestly, she didn't even know. Let me just give y'all the background. She didn't even know that I was going to ask her to be a part of building wealthy families. So it's amazing how God set this up, because I met her in Atlanta a few months ago. I gotta stop saying a few, I guess several months ago now. And, she told me what she did. And as I was listening to her speak, I correlated, of course, some of y'all know the partner that I had did something similar. And as I began to just think, I'm like, wow, okay, God is bringing this back in my life. That's interesting. Okay. And then as I had the revelation one day on the power call, and I'm thinking about how I missed the tribe and how all of these people was saying this in the tribe, and I can't believe, and I'm having withdrawals. I said, hold on. What they were saying in the tribe, those same testimonials, don't you realize they're saying it in the power call? And I said, damn, yeah. And the power call is Monday through Friday, not just Tuesday, not just Tuesday and Thursday. I said, well, whoa, there go another piece. Then we had business, y'all were learning business, and Sister Courtney has already been helping me. Based on the value that I brought to her, she don't even allow me to pay her. I said, whoa, then I got that piece too. And Sister Alexis was the same way. Just, how can I serve? How can I serve? How can I help? No, I don't need any money. How can I help? I just want to serve. I do it complimentary. So all of y'all who have met with her, you've met with her for free. You're not even paying. Then I said, whoa, there go another component. I said, man, look at this. Then I put it out there. I said, you know what? Well, I want to rebuild this thing then. And then out of nowhere, the number one trader in the world inboxes me and says, well, man, anything I can do, I just want to help you rebuild it, because I seen what happened and I just want to help it be. I said, oh my goodness. So I mean, here I am thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, man. That's why I didn't want to do it. I couldn't do it on my own, but Allah has, without me, I'm unwittingly, Allah unwittingly through me is building it back up without me intentionally saying, let's do it. So I finally decide, hey man, so I called Sister Courtney, Sister Courtney. So I wanted to rebuild this thing, and this is some of the things we had. I would love to have you a part of this. And y'all heard on the little audio, yes, I'm in. Then Sister Alexis, hey, I want you to be a part of, oh yeah, I want to, come on, let's do it. Oh, she in. Then the brother tell you, oh man, oh my goodness. So man, I mean, this thing is just amazing how this has came together, how those of y'all who was in the past program, y'all already know these are the areas that we was covering. So to be able to cover these areas plus more in the rebuilding of this thing, man, it's almost unbelievable. I can't even believe it. So I was like, you know, Sister Alexis was already coming serving. And it's kind of like now you guys have been able to be in a position where, I mean, it's like you guys are, what you all was maybe skeptical about. I know I still got pain from it. But God has positioned it in a way where you guys, where you guys was able to get the value before you even bought in. You was already learning from Sister Courtney from the past. Y'all seen her course. She has been on the power call and she's been teaching. So y'all have already seen her spirit, seen the value that she brings. Alexis, you already see the value that she brings. So now it's a no-brainer. You ain't got to guess, well, I don't know how it's going to be the next time. You already experiencing it right now, today. Some of y'all have already had one-on-one calls with her in your policies. I'm going to let y'all, whenever y'all ready to speak, y'all can speak. But some of y'all policies have already been transformed where you're paying less and you're getting more. It's already happening. So the program is just going to be formed and be rebuilt off of what's already going on. And what's most important, while I've been sharing some of those, and I'm going to share some of the stuff they've been saying as well in the meetings, but it's like, they all are part of, hey, man, impacting the people first, impacting the people first, impacting the people first. And so to have a group of individuals, man, that they all have their own entrepreneur stuff going, they all making money. They could say, man, I don't need to be a part of this. I'm good. But the fact that you got people that have God at the center of this, they're not afraid to speak about God. They keep it out in the forefront. They not one of those people who say, you know, I'm going to separate, you know, they ain't keep that separate. No, for what? Why? So I'm just honored, man, to have them being a part of the program and being able to teach and have some comrades, have some soldiers on the side that wants to see our people economically grow. But as y'all been seeing, focusing first on the knowledge, the personal development, and the mindset. So that's what I wanted to end off with. I want to end off with that right there, man. Is just to say thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you all for believing. I'm gonna tell y'all something. That 3-hour live that we did, when I told y'all what I want to do, that was so encouraging. When y'all said, man, we with you. Man, I didn't know so many people was gonna be like, man, let's do it again. I didn't know. I really didn't know. But to hear y'all say, man, come on, man, we with this. Let's redo this. Let's rebuild this. Man, that gave me so much confidence, man, in the spirit. So to be able to inspire y'all and fire y'all up all these days and weeks and to have y'all do it for me that day, man, y'all don't know how much that I can't wait till we meet in person and we all get to just vibe together and we can look back and say, y'all, we did it. We did it the right way. So yeah, that's what I want to end off with. That's it. I don't want to keep on rambling because we done been on this thing 3 hours now, but I just want to end off and share that with y'all. Sister Alexis, I know you already said you ain't got nothing, but if you had something to add to that, if you want to.
It's really, I just want to say that as long as we focus on the principles, there's nothing that we cannot do because it's already been laid out. So with the correct unity, with the right intentions and keeping Allah at the forefront and at the center, there is not a thing that we will not be able to do, be, or have in the name of. So I'm extremely excited about that as well, to have the ability, the capacity, the skill set, the credentials to share at this level. So I'm also excited for what we're building as well.
All right, so y'all stay tuned. So we'll see y'all in the morning. Oh, real quick before we get out of here, because I know brother said that he didn't know what time it started. Let me help you guys out here. So every morning when you get up, every morning when y'all get up, this is what I want y'all to check. Let me go to my screen here. Every morning when we get up, I want you guys to check this. Okay, so when you go to your Power Call app, everybody should be in here, by the way, www.thepowercall.net, 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 www.thepowercall.net. Okay, now it's in y'all head. Now y'all ain't gonna forget it. So when y'all go in there, what I want y'all to do is y'all gonna come right here under calendar. When you hit calendar, this is where you will see the time. So you see how this say 6, 4, 7, 6, 6, 6, 6. So this is how you can know what time the class is going to start. So in the morning, as you can see, it said 9 a.m. So tomorrow it'll say 6. So if you ever wondering, man, where the Zoom link? What we talking about today? What time do it start? It's always going to be right here under calendar. Boom. This is how you find it. Boom. There go the Zoom link. Boom. There go the time right there. So I just want to show y'all that. And then the replays. Oh, we got a classroom. I just seen somebody say something about Ramadan. You can look at the Ramadan. I hope we fixed it. Let me see if we fixed it because the times was off on this. Okay, there we go. It's fixed. So yeah, this is where you can find all the Ramadans. So we got a classroom, and on the classroom, Ramadan replays, you can check out all the 30 days of Ramadan. Look at that. Oh, look at that. That was so well organized, boy. Then you go back here, and we got some important interviews that you can watch, right? So you can go right here. Man, we got all kind of stuff you can come on in here and watch. Brother Nuri, Brother the Minister, Dr. Wesley. Man, look at this right here. Then we got the leaderboard. This is to show us who's doing the most, who's getting the most engagement. So Brother Nurse Earl is winning right now by far. But this is, you can come right here and you can read how you get points. You get points for likes on your posts. So those who are most valuable in the group and getting the most likes because you're producing quality content, I might have some gifts for you once y'all get to level 8, level 9. I'm gonna have some gifts for those who are the most, who up there in rank. So yeah, that's just, I just want to show y'all how it work. I know we've been migrating over and stuff like that. We done been in a couple platforms, but I think this one is gonna be well organized. And again, get with Sister Randisha if y'all are event planners. We trying to get this event going. We gotta get this solidified ASAP so y'all can get your tickets. But I am turning 30. Y'all know I don't celebrate birthdays, but on behalf of me turning 30 and the launch of the program and the anniversary of the Power Call, we want to meet in person in Dallas around June. We're gonna get y'all the dates and all that soon and all that type of stuff. But that's what we preparing for. So if you are an event planner, please hit up Sister Randisha so we can add you to the Telegram chat so that we can get this stuff organized so that we can all meet in person. We got some stuff that's gonna take place in person and stuff. Okay, so you have to be approved to get on this Power Call group. Absolutely, you got to be approved to get inside of the thing. It ain't no. You just need to be a real person. Basically, it's a lot of people that be trying to join and and on some other stuff. So it ain't no. We got to check your background and your social security number and all that. It ain't that deep. But just put your bio on there, put your picture on there so we can see who you are, and then you will be accepted in. Okay. Because them sisters don't be playing. They be like, I'm not accepting that. I don't know who that is. So yeah, the sisters is on post, okay? The sisters is on post. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Sister Mother Nani, are you on to let us know what's going on tomorrow on the sister side?
Assalamu alaikum, I am. So tomorrow, sisters, if you are a part of the sister chat that we were doing prior to Ramadan, we are picking up our reading tomorrow. We're gonna restart Message to the Black Man. I know that we have a good amount of new sisters who wanted to join. So we are starting that tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, so 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to begin our reading for Message to the Black Man together. And it will be via Zoom, yes.
There it is. And the Sister Randisha, I know during Ramadan, right after end of Ramadan, there was a sisters chat that I created because there was a lot of people trying to get in contact because we got off of the Mighty Networks one for now. So how do we consolidate the past chat with this new chat so everybody's in one place and we not all over the place? Do y'all have a plan for that? Or y'all just going to use that chat? I don't know what y'all going to do about that.
We're gonna use Zoom for now, as Sister Nani mentioned, but I think you said that you was gonna try to work on something within the school app, so I was just kind of just waiting.
So not necessarily where y'all gonna meet at, but like the chat of where y'all gonna talk about it. So what I had in mind is that, maybe I can talk to Sister Khadisa today about that. But what I had in mind is because we can't separate people basically in the app like that. What I was thinking is that we have somebody that can do the breakout rooms. And so when people come, make sure they got their cameras on so there's not brothers joining y'all chat, vice versa. We can just send them to the breakout room. That's kind of what I had, because we can't technically separate people inside of this app. And so, yeah, and I wouldn't want to continue to pay for Mighty Networks just so that, yeah, that'd be confusing. So I think for now, we can do, like, y'all need to have a chat, whether if it be, yeah, maybe y'all should have a Telegram chat. Maybe y'all should have y'all own outside of the power call, because basically that topic, brothers can look inside that chat. I think y'all should have a separate group on Telegram, to where all the sisters in that chat and the topic, because again, brothers can basically, I don't be looking at it, but basically we could see it if we wanted to. Create y'all a separate group, make sure all sisters are in there, and then y'all just can talk and stuff like that. And then maybe when we get on Zoom, y'all can just have the sisters, hey, have your camera on so we can make sure it's all sisters or something like that. That's kind of what I got. But I just didn't want y'all to be in two places, because there are people that join during Ramadan that do still want to read.
That was my suggestion. Well, that's what I was going to do, was create a separate Telegram for the sisters. So that way, like, it can be monitored and we can see, and control who's in there and whatnot. But my next question then is, once I do create the Telegram group, how would I get the link out to the sisters?
Yeah, well, they just put it inside of the chat. Sister Desiree said,
I'll help you with that.
Create the separate Telegram, then share the link in the other chat. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So they already know how to do that. So yeah, if y'all can create like a separate chat, put that inside of the Telegram, and just make sure that it's all brothers. It ain't really no other reason not to be in there. It's just if they are a sister, let them join. And then y'all can just talk about times and Zoom links and stuff like that. And then brothers, we'll do the same thing on our end, so that we can get started with the brothers. And sisters, y'all can't join. So the only criteria is that you are a male, and the only criteria for the sisters is that y'all are female. And then we just continue to build it that way until maybe they come out with a feature where we can separate or something. I don't know. So admin team of the power call, if y'all can get with Sister 90. So admins should be Desiree, Sister Alexia, Sister Randisha. Yeah, as far as admins of those groups, because those are the power call admins. So if we can just make sure that all of y'all are admins, and then y'all just do y'all thing, and I'll stay out of it. So look at Telegram. Yes, so look in Telegram, or they can post the Telegram link inside of the Power Call app too. So they can just post it in there that way as well. Or look inside the Telegram, because we are in both places. So they'll just put the links on both sides. Sisters, y'all join it, and then y'all got it from there. So thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for staying back for the whole back meeting. And I'll see you guys, inshallah, in the morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Is Brother Ben here? Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister. And Ben tells them about the minister.